This is a video on two GPT-based games that I have been building. So the first is called AI Story Battles. Some people call it GPT Wars. It's a game in which you create a character. So in this case, let's say they create a character called the Crazy Scientist. GPT will then flesh that out for you and allow you to make changes to the scientist or character. In this case, we're naming him Dr. Fritz von Frankenstein. Then, once you have your character created, you can go and you battle against other player characters or characters thematic in your character's universe. When you go up against these other players, the battles are auto battles. They are story-based battles that GPT comes up with. And it kind of figures out who's going to win and who's going to lose and writes an interesting story around that. The story is read out loud using text-to voice. So in this case,
The Grand Showdown, Merlin versus Dr. Frankenstein. The scene is a dark and stormy night, lit by lightning and the distant glow of a castle in the distance.
During the part of the story reading, at certain points, images are created using Stable Diffusion or any other image API to go alongside the story. Once the story is over, you either won or you lost. Your character gets a new rating. So in this case, we lost to Merlin, so we lost 3 rating points. But then you can choose a power-up, for example, Mystic Energy Boost or Morph Magic. Clicking on either would give you like a description of what that power-up is. And power-ups that you gain are always relevant to the story. So if you played against Merlin, you might pick up a power-up related to, let's say, like magic resistance. So this game costs about 70 cents per battle, which is pretty expensive. About 10 cents goes to GPT, 10 cents goes to the image API, and 50 cents goes to text-to-speech. However, we're expecting that the cost of AI is going to go down over the next few years to make this game a lot cheaper to run, and as the cost goes down, that's when I think people would be interested in playing it. The next game is more of a proof of concept. While the first game, AI Story Battles, was is about 90% finished. It just needs about 10% more polish. The second game, GPT Wars, is still in its early phases. But in this game, you think of a game like Civilization, where you can grow your territories and make alliances, maybe research new technologies. This is the same thing, only it's incredibly open. So you would play against other players or computer players. In this case, player 1 chose Bilbo Baggins, player 2 chose Martha Stewart, player 3 chose Joseph Stalin. That was all just random. You can come up with your own character if you want, and add whatever flavor you want as well. And what happens is GPT is then going to run through a long series of prompts that is going to determine the world. So it's going to flesh out places. So, for example, Bilbo Baggins is here. He starts in Bag End. We have Gandalf apparently in this game now, and information about Gandalf, like a wizard of immense power, etc., and different abilities. Here's Martha Stewart. Here's Joseph Stalin. And then here's the backstory. So apparently in this backstory, they met at some sort of feast, and something bad happened that caused them and their nations to go to war against each other. And during your turn, you can use one of your abilities to attack or conquer another territory, or seek alliance, or try to acquire resources, produce new resources, or talk to other characters to try to convince them to do things. And now the way that this game functions is that actions that you take get converted into the game's mechanics, which is all based out of JSON, if you understand programming. And the the GPT then will send the JSON back for however the story's narrative changes as well. So Bilbo decides to attack, I don't know, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, for whatever reason, um, and an interesting story of about 3 or 4 paragraph comes out of that, and maybe new characters are created. Maybe Bilbo gains some new tools or resources from the Metropolitan, etc. All of that can be handled by GPT. But the cost of this game is much more expensive than the prior. So AI story battles, like I said, is 70 cents per battle. In this game, just getting it started, building the world that the players are going to play in, because it has to use GPT-4 to handle all of the JSON and to understand the API documentation that I had to put together for it to make the right calls. This is about $17. I'm not joking, just to create the world. So I would imagine a full game, if you played it all the way through, could be like 30, 40, $50. But we're living in a world where we know the cost of AI is going to go down over time. So in a year or 2 or 3, that $50 becomes $15, becomes $5, becomes 50 cents. And the possibility of playing this game gets better and better over time. So what I'm seeking is investment. I have a day job. I have a baby. I don't have much time to work on these things. So I need a little bit more incentive, and I need someone to be able to basically pay for my time to finish crafting these products. So the first game, I'm looking for about $20,000, $10,000 going toward developing the last bit of features, and the other $10,000 going toward marketing the game and trying to get it out so people can play. I'm imagining some people will still want to play at around $1 per story battle, because you still have some nerds who are excited about these kinds of things. For GPT Wars, which is a much more expensive game to run, it's only about 30% finished, so I would need about $30,000 or $40,000 to finish building the game, and then another $10,000 to market on top of that. And we'll also have to wait patiently as the cost of AI comes down. As, say, for example, open source gets cheaper, or maybe OpenAI will put out some cheaper but still very effective models. Then once these things become cost effective, we're able to put them out in the marketplace immediately rather than having to wait several months to develop them, and that gives us a first mover's advantage. So if you're interested, don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is benshums@gmail.com. That's BENSHUMS @gmail.com. And thank you for your time.